Trinity College Open Day. The talk I'm going to give you today this morning is really just a brief introduction to general science of Trinity. There's going to be a series of talks in this lecture theatre next door on a range of science subjects, and they'll give you details about the different science subjects, but what I'm going to give you is a very general overview of the science programme and the sort of areas and options that you have within the science programme. I'm Professor Graham Watson, I'm the Science College Director, so it's my job to coordinate the science programme across all of the different disciplines involved. Okay, and I guess my primary role is to run the Science Course Office, and the Science Course Office's primary role itself is to manage the TR071, the common entry to science. This is the route into the science area of Trinity that most students will take. There are a few other routes which I'll mention. But the Science Course Office primarily takes care of the TR071, although it does manage the other programs as well that I'll tell you about. So what the Science Course Office does is coordinate the programs for the different subjects and disciplines, a whole range of different people involved in delivering the general science program, and detailed information about what's involved in those disciplines, whether it's biochemistry, chemistry, physics, or whatever other subject that you're interested in. You can get more detailed information about the particular areas from the information desk, which are at the end of the atrium. There'll be manned for all of the disciplines in science, and you can ask them some much more general questions. Now, the Science Course Office will also handle all of the issues involved with the students, so we do things like the course registration, the module choices, the class splits, how to arrange them within the different lab sessions involved in the science subjects. We also obviously try and keep the course up to date and relevant, and we collect the feedback from the students and from the staff in trying to improve the programme. And really what I'm saying is that the Science Course Office is the contact point between the university, academic structure and the students. One of the problems with these general courses is the students often feel a little bit lost when they come into university, but the Science Course Office operates as a central contact point for students. And to facilitate that, there is a web page, www.tcd.ie/science, which some of you may have already looked at. There's quite a lot of information here for prospective students. We also use it to interact with registered students in terms of module choices and issues like that. But there's lots of information on here. If you haven't had a look, have a look at that, and it will also direct you towards the different disciplines as well. So, I guess you're all here because you have some interest in science, so perhaps I'm selling this when I don't need to, I'm not sure. So why study science? There's lots of reasons to study science, and in fact, the first one really is not even on that slide. It's an interest. I mean, one of the things about going to university is you're going to spend 4 years studying a subject. It's got to interest you. If it doesn't interest you, then there's not too much point in going ahead. You're going to be struggling over a 4-year degree. But the other thing that the science program does is teach you a whole range of skills. So it teaches you things like analytical, logical, and critical approaches to thinking. Okay? And that creates individuals that are able to look at problems and solve them. And this is actually one of the critical skills that the industry is looking for, and it's deeply embedded in the science program. It trains students to work not just individually, but also there's teamwork elements within the program. Again, one of the aspects that industry is very interested in, whether it be directly related to the science subjects or not. And there is still, despite the economic problems, there is still technical and scientific knowledge is still in reasonably strong demand. The other issue, of course, is that the changing environment of the world requires really increasing scientific knowledge to be able to take part, not just for science's sake, but things like policy making in terms of global warming and issues of that nature. And really the career opportunities through the science programme are very varied, they're very wide, and I have on the next slide just an example of some of the places that the science students from Trinity have gone into, and it basically is almost anything really. I mean, there are obvious ones here in terms of the direct programmes, so we've got the chemical and pharmaceutical sectors, where you might go from, say, chemistry or biochemistry. There's obviously zoo and wildlife management from the zoology programme, but there are less obvious things, IT and business, journalism, and that's because the science programme teaches you these generic skills which are vital in the modern world. So the next issue, I guess, for you is why study at Trinity? What's the advantage of doing a Trinity? Well, Trinity is what I would call a research-led teaching university. It has a very strong ethos for cutting-edge research, and it uses the knowledge and the skills of those people who are directing that research to deliver the teaching programs. So if you come to Trinity, you'll be taught by essentially scientists that are on the cutting edge of their particular specialisation. We have excellent lab facilities across all of the disciplines, in fact, and you get a lot of hands-on experience in the science program. I guess in terms of profile, the university has the highest ranking in terms of the global rankings of universities within Ireland, and it has a very wide respect across the international community. So a degree from Trinity really is a passport to go to other countries as well as to remain in Ireland. One aspect of the Trinity Science degree that we're very proud of is the degree of research projects within science subjects. We get close supervision with these leading researchers in most of the degree paths, and so you get a real hands-on feeling of what science is actually able to achieve. Clearly, I talked about the lab facilities. There's both lab and field work depending on the subject, so geology, sciences, zoology, environmental sciences, these will do field work aspects, whereas obviously subjects like physics and chemistry will be more laboratory. As I've already said, the Science Course Office provides dedicated administrative support to the students, so there's a single contact point in the first 2 years where the students can come and sort out problems. Continuously updating and revising the course structure to try and deliver the best program for the students. And something you probably aren't aware of, Trinity has an excellent tutorial service. That's not a tutorial in the sense of teaching you the subject. That's more of pastoral care in terms of having what's called a personal tutor to help you with all any problems that you have in college, not just academic. The other thing about the Trinity programme is there is a wide range of choice of options and pathways to the final degree. So there's lots of different subjects, and as I said, you can go and see the desks of the different subjects down the far end of the atrium and ask them some more detailed questions about what their subject is all about. So just to go back to the entry to Trinity, these are the entry codes for the courses within science. Now I don't deal with the single order in maths or the theoretical physics, although there are people from theoretical physics down the far end and from maths. The science course deals primarily with this common entry science program, TR01, but there are these what I refer to as direct entry programs, which are very intimately linked with the science program. So that's human genetics, chemistry with molecular modelling, medicinal chemistry, nanoscience, physics and chemistry, advanced earth sciences. And these programs will use modules within the science program that direct you in the specific area of study. Again, the information about the direct entry courses can be got from the desks at the far end of the atrium. So the final three options that you have if you come into the science program at Trinity, these are the current ones. We do tend to slightly modify them year by year. So we've got biochemistry, chemistry, environmental sciences, functional biology, genetics, geography, geology, immunology, microbiology, molecular medicine, neuroscience, physics and astrophysics, physiology, plant sciences and zoology. So there's a wide range of subjects. And at the end of the second year, you would choose to specialise in one of those subjects. Okay. The first 2 years are common, and then you specialise in the third and fourth year into one of these programs. So in the first year, it's very generic. People choose a set of modules. Okay, these are actually the modules on offer. There's 2 biology modules, 2 chemistry, 2 geography, 1 geology, there's 3 maths, but you can't do all 3. I'll explain that in a moment. There's 2 physics and another physics, which you can't again do all 3. And the idea is that you can tailor the degree to what you're interested in. You have to do 60 credits of these, so that's 6 of those modules. But you have to do the right ones that lead you towards the degree program that you want to do. So if you want to do chemistry, you obviously have to do chemistry first. It would be rather silly to not do it, because that's your aim. So I'll just explain a little bit about the term structure. It explains how the choice of the modules works. The term structure at Trinity, we have a Freshers' Week, and then we go into teaching and we teach for 6 weeks, and then we have what's called Study Week. Now, Study Week is when students first go away and look at everything they've done in the first 6 weeks and make sure they're up to speed and not go on ski days and things like that. Then there's 5 weeks more of teaching, which takes us almost right up to Christmas. There's the Christmas break, and then we repeat the whole process again. So there is actually 22 weeks of teaching in this 6-5-6-5 structure. And the modules are basically we have modules within the first semester and then modules within the second semester. Once we've done all that teaching, there's a 3-week revision period. If you're lucky, it will include Easter. If you're unlucky, it actually hits the end of the semester. And then we have a 4-week exam period. So all the exams are at the end of the year. We then have a period where the lecturers can do all the marking and set all the marks before the results are published. So that's the academic year. And basically you have to do a certain number of modules in the first semester, a certain number of modules in the second semester. So this is basically a plan of how the modules are arranged. This is the first semester modules. So there's maths, physics. There's a maths methods course. That's a standalone maths course, which you just do in one semester. If you don't want to go on with any maths after that. Chemistry, biology, and geography. Now, it's linked with the foundation physics. That's the equivalent of the physics course. Maths and physics are the only ones who do that, where you can do essentially one semester of the subject. Because you would then proceed to carry on proceed to study into the second year. Okay. How you choose these modules is important in what degree you're interested in, but there is that choice there. I just want to explain a little bit about it, because one of the key aspects of the Trinity degree is this choice. It makes it more complicated, but it gives you much more flexibility in what you study. So we've sort of come up with these patterns to try and make it a little bit easier. So pattern 1 is if you're interested in studying maths and physics, okay, and then you'd have to study 10 credits in the first semester from these 3 and 10 credits in the second semester from these 4. Okay. Now, the subjects that you can proceed to, if you do this pattern, are here. There's quite a large number of them. It's not recommended for biochemistry, immunology, molecular medicine, neuroscience, because, in fact, to do these subjects, you have to do the chemistry, not the biology. And then you have to pick up biology in the second year. The new subject, which is not recommended, but it can be done. These subjects will all fit into here nicely. But again, of course, it depends what you choose. If you choose chemistry here, you can do chemistry, but you can't do geography. What you can't do with this is genetics or microbiology, because they require first year chemistry and first year biology. Okay, that's that pattern. That's if you want to do those two subjects. If you go to pattern 2, which is just having maths across the whole year, then basically most of the subjects are now available. But again, it depends on what you choose, what will be available later on in the course. So if you want to do microbiology, for instance, you would have to make sure that you take the first and second semester chemistry and the first semester biology. These will all be explained to you if you come to Trinity. What you can't take there is physics, essentially. Because to do physics later, you have to do full maths and full physics. Pattern 3 is when you do one semester of maths, and that opens up everything, essentially, apart from physics, again. But obviously, it depends what you choose, what will be later. Pattern 4 is not very common. Pattern 4 is when you do no maths. These are the only degree programs that require no maths. Okay? Environmental sciences, geography, geology, and plant sciences. So it limits your choice when you get to the third year about what degrees you can actually do. So it's not a particularly recommended pattern. So they're all the ones you can't do. Okay. I've probably just confused you. What I'm trying to get across really is that we have lots of options. We have lots of disciplines, we have lots of specializations, and in the first year you get choices about the modules that you can take. Okay? And that choice is a central feature of the program at Trinity, giving students the choice to try and tailor their program so that it suits them. Okay? As it says, it can look daunting, but there is advice throughout the course. Science school's office is there all the time, and indeed, for the first year students, we have an orientation day where I will do a lecture, not with those sorts of details in it, but more detailed to try and get them to understand what choices they want to make. And the disciplines will actually come in and tell them about the different modules that are available to them. But we don't stop there. There's a one-to-one advice system. So every student will meet with an experienced lecturer to discuss the module choices that they make, to make sure they're appropriate and they haven't, they've chosen wisely in terms of the degree programs that they're interested in eventually going into. The other thing is that as much as we can, we allow people to modify their choices if they realise they've made a bad mistake. Obviously, if you've done 7 weeks of a module, then changing is not going to actually be possible because you'll have missed 7 weeks of whatever other module you're going to change into. So in the first semester, we allow changes within the first few weeks. So if you go into the first week of, actually I better not say a subject or I'll get into trouble. If you go into a particular subject and you suddenly find you hate it and you want to switch to a different module, then if you do that within the first few weeks, that's fine. For the second semester modules, you can change them right up to the end of semester 1. So if you're down to a subject across the whole year and find the first module is difficult and you'd rather do something else in the second semester, then that can be done. So, as I said, the key feature here is choice within this degree program, but also a wide range of choices once you get to the third year in terms of the specializations. Everyone asked about leaving points. These are the historical leaving points. So TR071 has been creeping up in recent years. The direct entry courses tend to vary a little bit more because they're quite small numbers of students. Science takes in 340 odd students a year.
So it's
A large body of
students, whereas something like
medicinal chemistry is, I think it's 27. Nanoscience, I think it's 20.
so the
Much smaller numbers, so
the points tend to
to bounce around a little bit more. What I would say is, I often hear the comment that I'm going to get X points, I don't want to waste them doing this subject. Absolutely rubbish. You should go to university to do
the subject that you're interested
that leads you to a career that you're going to be interested in. There's no point in doing
a course at university.
simply because you've got points for it. The entry requirements, in addition to the
Points,
obviously you have to make the entry requirements.
There's
The university matriculation requirements, which are English and a non-English language. In addition,
for science, you have to
get maths grade C at ordinary level, or
Grade
grade D or higher. And in addition to that, you need
two science subjects
which can include the maths that
we've
we've just counted,
counted.
As long as it's high grade C or above. So if you get below high
High grade-
grade C in maths, you need two science subjects. If you get higher grade C in maths or above, you only need one subject. Remembering that geography is within the science program, so geography is counted as a science subject. People forget about that. Okay, I've just about finished.
This is the
Program that you've seen.
you've seen in
the leaflet. So I've just given
I've just given this talk here.
So in the Jolie next door, there is a talk on environmental
Sciences in a little while, and
in a little while later here, there'll be a microphone. So
the
the subject is going to be talks about what's involved in there. Last thing. Can you please leave the lecture theatre through the front?